What man's hand?
Good evening and welcome to the Minions of the Zoo. I'm your host and keeper of the Harry Channel, and with me tonight are Minions SkepTock.
Hi, everybody.
Serenity Star 13.
Hello.
And DrFunctional.
Indeed.
So, hey, Functional, this morning, you and I went on to StreamYard and experimented with Opera.
Indeed.
And it seems to be better. Hopefully the sound is good now. I made a number of changes to the road gear thing, but so if we're a little bit on the low side, please let me know and I can adjust that.
You sound good.
Well, it sounds different to you than it does through the stream. There's some extra layers, so I am keeping an eye on chat. I've asked Costin unofficially to let me know if things are bad. But hopefully everything's are good.
Oh, wow.
So do you,
Good
DrFunctional, have anything you'd like to share in your personal status for the last week before we start talking about stuff as a group?
I know we're gonna touch on it, but there are so many abject retards. It's just at this point, I don't think it can be stupidity. It's just malicious. Maybe with a dash of stupidity, but it's amazing that there seems to be the two grand sides of things: the don't believe your lying eyes and the what the fuck are you talking about camps in the world. And it's incredible, and it's kind of, it is what it is. My back is fucking killing me tonight.
Yeah, well, we have a few articles about Gen Z, and if you look at them in total, there's no way all three of them can be correct, right? And I think it's mostly because they may be correct for certain groups in Gen Z, but everybody likes to go for the lazy narrative. So if you say there are some Gen Zers who are doing something, then they just go, well, all Gen Zers are doing something. It's all just so lazy.
I've never ascribed to the whole generational label thing. It's so... You can't just say a group of people are this way in such a grand scope.
You can say some important things about a generation of people. For example, you can say they were all born between certain years.
Yeah.
And beyond that, no, nothing.
Yeah.
But I mean, on the individual, like maybe it's just my bias as somebody who believes in individualism and the power and sanctity of the individual self.
There are very few observable phenomena in sociologically observable phenomena that exactly go in accordance with generational stuff because there are so many other forces and currents in society that cause us to make the decisions to do the things that we want to do. And that's why you're I think you're finding right on the nose. That's why I made the comment that beyond being born on a certain date or born during a certain time, there's usually very little you can ascribe purely for a generation.
Yeah, it seems like it's made its way into like political astrology, you know?
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's
It's just
phrenology.
Trust us, bro. I mean,
Yeah.
no, I mean, it's such a grand scope of things. Like you said, it's people, everybody on the planet who was born from this day to this day arbitrarily is this way. No, it's stupid. There are certain grandiose world events that shape a generation, and that's why we refer to things like the greatest generation as the greatest generation, because of the grand, all-encompassing event, World War II, that took place. And so even then, you can't describe and say, oh, well, all of them were heroes. Well, no. What about the people that they were fighting that are of that same generation? Like, you know, like, but it colloquially saying, you know, the greatest generation, obviously we're referring to the ally side because they did the thing that they they didn't have to do, but, you know, they did it. Well, some had to do it. Anyway, I'm rambling.
It's okay. There's plenty of time to ramble later. Hi, Serenity.
Hello.
How you doing?
I'm good. How are y'all?
You seem like you're in a good mood.
I'm just sitting here eating popcorn, waiting until everybody was done.
Yeah, well, we're not going to be done for 2 hours and then some. So
The only thing I've noticed about the generation is that I think Gen Z are aging faster than millennials. That's the only thing I've noticed.
it's all the ADHD medication they pump them
Because they all
full
look
of.
older than me, and they shouldn't be looking older than me.
Well, yeah, I don't know.
And those studies have shown that they are increasingly maturing mentally later and later in life.
I'm talking physically. I'm not talking mentally.
No, I know. I'm saying it's just ironic in the face of that.
Yeah, and millennials are the complete opposite, supposedly. But, it's one of those things. I don't believe in painting a broad brush with anybody. I don't give a dang if it's religion, hair color, body weight, whatever. Broad
Well-
brushes are stupid.
Well, unless you're trying to cover a lot of space really quickly.
I know, but it's just also... those studies can be manipulated so easy, it's not even funny.
Yeah.
And that's the reason why I don't trust them.
Don't science.
I trust science to a point, but I also understand it's easy to manipulate. Certain sciences...
I'm with you.
Certain
You're 100%
sciences are very easy to manipulate.
Yeah,
That's the
you're
reason
very,
why-
very right.
It's my
gender
issue.
science.
I'm going to go on a slight tangent with this. Ricky Gervais made a comment on some show. I don't even know what it was. He was like, if you destroy all the religious texts and destroy all the scientific texts and wait 1,000 years, all the religious texts will be completely different. But the science will be the same. It's like, honey, you know nothing about science. Science changes all the time. Shut the fuck up, you atheist asshole.
Well, the point he was making was that, in his opinion,
Yeah.
religion is not based on fact, and science is based on fact. So what will re-emerge is something based on facts. That's the science part. But what is based on fantasy will be completely different. That's the point.
I know that's what he was trying to make, but at the same time, there's a lot of religions that have no touching each other, that have never interacted until like 200 years ago. That have a lot of similarities, and a lot of science has changed completely in just 50 years. So I think it's a little too, it's too shallow of a statement. But
Well, how much of that
he's
is
a comedian?
how much of that is human nature, though?
yeah,
God, I'm trying to remember. Was it Campbell? There's some sort of list of things that usually people who fit the definition of Messiah have a number of common characteristics across different different religions, right? And Jesus just ticks so many boxes. The resurrection box, the virgin birth box. There's a bunch of these. But if you look at different religions in the world and throughout history, all of them seem to tick some number of those. And the religions that tend to be more successful, last longer, have more adherents and stuff, tend to be the ones that tick certain more of these boxes than others.
Yeah.
One could argue that the reason these boxes are important is because they satisfy some sort of emotional need that the hero's story has to have.
Yeah.
You know, I'm speaking, and again, here, you know what I'm doing? I'm using the big paintbrush. I'm using it's practically a paint sprayer with a roller attached, the one I'm using. So I'm talking in very big terms.
And the thing is, that's okay. I don't mind when people like you talk about that kind of stuff because I know it's not coming from a place of malice
Oh, no.
or superiority. Gervais acts very.
On the contrary, you just sounded like Max Weber.
Yeah. Well, it's like, but Gervais, this is the man who will sit there and talk dog crap about Hollywood and then will bend over, drop his pants, and take their money every time. Like, it's one of those things where it's kind of like you can't talk crap about them and continue to take their money and still act like you're superior.
Oh, he bites the hand that feeds him pretty often. He's just
does.
successful enough in spite of it all that I don't think he cares.
Well, but that's the thing, though. Is it he doesn't care, or is it that the people who pay him don't care because they don't care what he thinks? And they know he'll still take their money because he wants their money because that's all he cares about. So that's the double-edged sword of it all. Is like, is he or isn't he? But yeah, Gervais is Gervais.
Well,
That's all I got.
I mean, the mistake of the new atheists is fairly simple. They did not stop to consider sufficiently what if they got rid of religion, what would replace it. That's just it. That's the biggest thing they screwed up in, is not factoring that in correctly. And if you sort of create that kind of vacuum, you just sort of leave room for a lot of bullshit. And I think a lot of the woke crap that's going on, it satisfies that need, right? You've torn down all of the traditional religions enough that there's a bunch of people who feel like they need something. There's a hole that needs to be filled. And so they're just ready, willing, and able to adopt some really stupid things instead. You know, if you taught somebody to be a good Christian, they would end up being a much better, probably a much happier, better, decent person contributing to society, generally making the world a better place, than teaching them to be some sort of race policy warrior, something or other. All they do is tear things down and cause unhappiness. Yeah. They're almost as bad as communists, almost. Yeah. And that's the nastiest thing I can say about anybody, pretty much.
There you go.
No.
Hi, Skep. Oh, wait, sorry. Serenity's got more. I apologize.
Oh, no, I was just saying that was just the kind of thing that popped in my head. But hi, Skep.
Hey, how you doing, Serenity? It's so good here to be here with you guys. I miss you guys. I'm just about ready to get back on the air. About once a week is perfect for me.
There you go.
I'm glad I didn't sleep through tonight. I'm sorry for all the weekends that I sleep through, but that happens.
It doesn't happen that often. It's what? It maybe happened 4 times in the last several months. That's not that many, really.
Yeah.
Not to mention the fact with the gardening season coming, you're going to be probably a lot more tired than you used to.
No doubt about it. We have cut back the gardening effort to. It's going to be about 2/3 of last year's garden, though, that actually outran us around, I don't know, second week of August. We gave up on it. We just we kept the tomatoes and we let everything go. We let all the beans go.
So
it's just too much work.
Skep, I have a job for you. Can you say hello to everybody in the chat for me?
Absolutely.
I have a tickle in my throat, and I want to drink liquids while you take care of that for me, because you do a better job anyway.
We're so glad to have everybody in chat tonight, and appreciate you guys coming to join us. As soon as I find the tab that has the chat in it, I see Assassins with us this evening, and let's see, Serenity's posting a lot in chat. Rotten Corpse is here. I like it. We have Rotten Corpse and Assassin. These are the names of our fans. Costin it has a normal name. If you hate Costin, start blaming. K-Shul is here. Mash is here. It is. Yeah, Mash is putting out some really interesting content. If the anime amazing music videos is your speed, Mash is your channel. She has got it going on, and you should check her out. Check her channel out. Anyway, that looks like about everybody who's here is being hello to all. We hope
And
to
K
have-
Shull.
Yeah, well, I called K Show.
Oh, you did? Oh, sorry, I
yes,
didn't know.
by name. But always appreciate, especially at my age, appreciate somebody checking up behind me and all that stuff. But come in and help us explore the wonderful world of weirdness that Harry's got a list to send us through that world tonight.
There's so much. What we have to do is you draw the Venn diagram. I need to find things that entertain at least one of us and hopefully most of chat.
We need Camel Harris,
Yeah, well, she's pretty.
mistress of
She's a
Ven.
bold thinker.
Yeah, she's almost up to where she can get 3 of the circles on one page.
Yeah. Well, there was this thing. I guess Biden was dumb enough to talk after. This is not an official topic, okay? But Biden was dumb enough to talk after the Putin interview, and so the memes are great. So it's like Putin gives a half-hour lecture on Russian history at a university level, and then Biden confuses Mexico and Egypt. Which gave me an idea because I know there's a number of Western fast food restaurants near the Great Pyramid. So I actually went out and looked to see what Western food you could get in the general neighborhood of the Great Pyramid of Giza. And you can get, there's an American barbecue place. There are a number of KFCs. There's all sorts of restaurants that are actually near there.
There's a Mexican food place too.
There's a Mexican food place, and there's even a place, gosh, let's see, did I actually put it in the spreadsheet? I could not find a Taco Bell, though. I was kind of thinking there'd be a run for the border joke somewhere in there for Biden.
That's going to be a Pepsi property.
Yeah.
Not expanded that way.
But no.
European and Russia, but not there.
Yeah, I looked, but there was one place, I think they called it the Carmel Cafe, believe it or not, which is supposedly has good American food there.
Yeah, Carmel has a different meaning in that part of the world. You know that, right?
No.
Carmel gets its name biblically.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and we don't need to go into that.
We don't need to get into that. But
Google Carmel in the Bible.
Yeah.
Don't do it, chat. Don't do it.
Yeah, Carmel is uniquely located in that rich douchebags from both LA and San Francisco can both reach it and have a long weekend. So you don't get just one flavor of annoying rich people. You get 2 different flavors.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That makes it just a
life.
vortex of annoyance.
Geez.
I mean,
It is so small and so expensive and so fucked up. I'm talking about the people. There are just so many donuts in one place. I mean, it would make somebody from Boulder blush to see how many donuts are in Carmel. It's almost like a donut ghetto.
well, if you, I'm sure many of you have been to places where rich people live, right? You've been to really swanky places. Carmel is different because not only is it full of people with money, but it's full of people with money who think they know about art. It is one of the most painful places for a sane person to go. It's just so odious. But at the same time, it's actually kind of a wonderful city. I mean, between the climate and the natural beauty and all that sort of stuff, there's a reason why all these rich douchebags go there. And if you look at the history of art in America, it really was like a real artist enclave. So Edward Weston, the photographer, if you don't know Edward Weston, look it up, okay? But guys like that would just sort of frequent Carmel. It was really where all the artists used to hang out back in the day. Now it's mostly just stuff that's way too expensive and not worth what it's worth, and tat. It's just sort of tacky stuff for rich people now instead of just clothes for rich people. I don't know. Though I digress. But this is why Clint Eastwood got pissed off at them one time and ran for mayor and then shook things up for about 4 years. That was fun.
He was the mayor.
He was.
Right. His honor. Oh, yeah.
Well, he got annoyed because they were taking a giant crap on some artichoke farmers who were sort of in the greater Carmel area. And these were just poor, hardworking artichoke farmers. And he kind of took umbrage at the way they were being treated. That and the ban on people walking around with ice cream cones was just enough to push him over the edge. He's like, fine, I'm just going to become mayor and make you all suffer. He was great.
You're
Yes,
bringing
you
back
should
some memories. Oh,
Yeah.
that's great.
Kick ass.
Kick ass.
Clint Eastwood's the best. He really is.
What was that bar? We used to see him there.
Hog's Breath.
Hog's Breath Inn. God, I'm so old.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Yeah,
it's
we used to see him there. Truly, and it was not a big deal.
No, well, it is a big deal. But I went to dinner one time and Clint Eastwood was having dinner at a table very near me. And I think I've told this before that it was really strange. Nobody bothered him. You just don't, because you have too much respect for the guy. But not only that, but it was a place where my grandfather, with his hearing aids, it drove him nuts because all the sound reflection would just wreak havoc with his hearing aids. And so he hated going there, but we had reasons for going there. The acoustics were really rough in that place, is what I'm trying to say. Everybody, when Clint was there, lowered their voice. It actually became like the entire atmosphere of the place changed because they wanted to make it so that Clint could have a nice conversation. Not so they could listen in, but just so that it was nicer for him.
Out of respect.
Out of respect. Like real respect. Not like the fear respect you have for the Godfather, but actual respect.
Right.
Good guy.
Exactly.
Anyway, what the hell are we talking about? Well, that's everybody. Let's see. Where shall we begin? At the beginning.
Begin.
Oh, well, is there any topics we want to cover before we dive into things? Functional, you had a request. You really wanted to talk about the Webb telescope thing, right?
At some point, yeah.
Well, that point could be right now.
Oh my God.
Okay. Let me...
Or it could be 14 billion years from now.
Okay, so we've had a picture of the nearest galaxy to us before, taken from the previous telescope, the Hubble. It was, kind of grainy. It looked like a blotch of light or, a lens flare. It wasn't anything special. But just the other day, we get these releases. These are galaxies, other galaxies, like, just out there in the universe. And that's pretty amazing unto itself. But also you have to remember that these are taking pictures of what it looked like hundreds of millions of years ago. So the implications for science, astrophysics, and the creation of the universe, these types of there's a pretty big juxtaposition.
So you can see the difference between the visible light and the infrared light. You see a lot of structure in the infrared that you just do not see in the visible.
You can see all those groups of stars and clusters. It's so just awe-inspiring.
You're seeing through the dust too with the infrared. You see through dust.
Yep.
It's awesome.
So you're seeing big clumps of just everything. It's so
yeah.
Makes
You
you
can see structure where otherwise there was just sort of haze. These pictures are pretty darn amazing.
And like I was saying about the implications for study, we can, being able to look back in the grand scale of time, the birth of the universe, let's say, can give you an idea of how our own galaxy was formed and how things move and how things. It's so, there's just so much to cover. I didn't want to do a whole lecture on it, but I mean, just some of these images, just looking at the centers of these galaxies, how bright they are because they're centers of galaxies. Some of them have, single spiral arms. Some of them are multiple spiral arms. Some of them are just big. That one in the middle, that's just a huge, big mess of a galaxy compared to some of the, you can look at the one just above it that looks a little bit more organized, like the two spiral arms.
The central one looks like a spiral to me, but it looks like a spiral.
Well, it's the thing with that one is Skep is that there's so many spirals. It kind of just like visually looks like a mess, right?
Mhm.
Look at the one just to the left and down of it. It's even though it's kind of chaotic, it's still got that symmetrical beauty, almost looking like the what's that coil? Oh God, my brain's drawing a blank.
A Nautilus or
The Nautilus, yes. It's just, oh, I love these photos so much. I will take any chance I can get to gush over the Webb telescope's pictures any day of the week. I love them so much.
We have some other cool science
What a
stuff
time
that's
to be
coming up. Some other cool space stuff, which I think you're gonna like. This sort of eye candy is a lot of fun. There's real science going on. There's things you can discern from this other than them just looking cool.
Oh yeah.
At the
Center one is
center of
Taylor
most of
Swift.
those things is a black hole, a very enormous, vigorous black hole. Yet at the same time, it's a mostly stable equilibrium. It doesn't just gobble up everything around it. It's like the spindle, the anchor of this thing, and the way that it relates to the galaxy surrounding it. We're only just starting to understand that better than we did. A lot of
like the Al Sharpton at the middle of that.
it's the Stacey Abrams.
Abrams.
It's yeah. We love Stacey Abrams.
Yeah, we do. Breakfast.
Speaking of which, Stacey Abrams led group is drowning in debt and laying off staff. Gosh, don't they know that she's the real governor of Georgia?
Oh, she's
Good
the president of Earth.
She's the president of Earth.
Yeah, Earth. Yes, Earth.
Earth. A voting rights
No,
group
yeah.
founded by former Georgia gubernatorial candidate Stacey Abrams is drastically cutting back and laying off staff amid significant debt as contributions fail. Far
Let me
right.
guess.
I'm sorry, far fight.
Unsupervised spenders.
I wonder if anybody bought themselves a house. I honestly think it's probably. I'm not accusing her of any wrongdoing, but I think that the amount of interest in giving money to Stacey Abrams is waning rapidly.
Yeah, among those who can afford to have it wane, I think that a lot of the donations to a lot of these people are nothing more than protection money. It's not really voluntary.
Yeah, it really like what happened to the Clinton Foundation.
Yeah, that went to you in a minute.
Yeah. Well, I was talking to my smart, decent liberal friends, and I remember saying at the time, I said, well, you know what? We'll find out who's right and who's wrong about this whole, were people just paying the Clintons through the Clinton Foundation thing? Because if Hillary doesn't win or when she's out of office and the donations dry up, then it really wasn't about Bill Clinton's amazing speaking talents, was it?
No,
Because
it wasn't.
his ability to deliver amazing speeches isn't going to be diminished by all this. But I'll bet you he's not going to be pulling down $500,000 from petty dictators in Africa if there's no prospect of them having political clout. Sure enough, it happened. I guess I was right. Oh well.
The publications of the Burisma memoranda about Hunter Biden, about how close is he to, the president? Can he really get him on the phone for us? Will he get him on the phone while we're at dinner?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that really is a thing, and that really happened. And this is nothing but that. Really annoying.
Your
See,
audio's
hopefully-
getting weird,
Yeah.
Skep.
I'm sorry. If she gets elected, her influence is going to warp this country for 10 or 15 years, I think.
Yeah.
Just the sheer amount of corruption that she can get institutionalized. It takes a long time to heal from that. That's a wound to a country.
To a country where not having a corrupt people in charge matters. Other
Yeah.
countries are just sort of used to it. They just call that Tuesday.
Yeah, I know, and I'm hoping our country can continue to be the country that cares about honesty in government. But I'm thinking we just have had too much of the of people who don't care about morality as much as they care about power, influence, and money.
Yeah. Well, I just wanted to segue to that because we were talking about black holes and Stacey
Yes.
Abrams came to mind. But
Sure.
this is the part of the show where we talk about follow-ups. Okay.
Heading back to work today, be careful on the roads, not just the flooded ones. There are a lot of potholes out there.
Yeah, I saw one on the freeway coming in. Air 7 capturing this scene last night, showing several cars that were disabled in Pacoima. Our Irene crew.
Yeah. Here's the thing about California. When it rains, we don't cope with it well because it's something we're not used to, weirdly. The other thing is that we have all these roads, tons and tons and tons of roads everywhere. It's a big state. There's a lot of roads. So in order to save money, when they have to repave the roads, they really don't do a very good job. It's not like they go out and do the thing that they do traditionally where they fill in the potholes and then they put hot asphalt over the top and, put down some good tar macadam. They don't do that sort of thing. What they do is they use this stuff called slurry seal. They use like a ready mixed stuff to sort of instant pothole filler, and then they put this stuff called slurry seal over the top of it. And it raises the roadway up, like an inch or two. I mean, it's a really thick coating of not very good road surface. And between the semis and the big fat-ass electric cars and the rain, the roads in California just don't stand a chance. It's a great state to own a shop that specializes in suspension or tires because our roads are just not good. I suspect the roads in Texas are probably pretty decent.
Oh, we're so overbuilt. I mean, we, having no income tax, we tax the shit out of your property, and we have the highways to prove it. That's one thing about Texas is we actually spend our money on, things people want here, and
Like the roads.
One of the things Texans wanted was good highways, and this was really true until about, I'd say, 2005. In Fort Worth, we considered it rush hour when you slowed down to 60. Or if you saw three or four cars on the freeway at any one time, people would say, "Can you believe the traffic?"
Nice.
Yeah.
So what about West Virginia? What are the roads like there?
Mountainous.
I mean, we have potholes, but the thing is like most people either got the big trucks or we know how to dodge them, so we just keep going.
So it's just you've just sort of adapted to them because I mean you've got a bunch of country roads, relatively small population, a lot of space without
It's
too many
not
people.
relative. It is a small population. We don't even have 2 million people in a state that's half the size of the entirety of the country of England. Like, that's what people don't understand.
So you wouldn't want to have like an MG midget or some other thing where like a guy's scrotum is going to be scraping along the
Oh, no,
freeway.
there's people who have those tiny little ass smart cars running around here.
Ugh.
They have those, but we also got the gigantic mother effing trucks with like 50,000 freaking lights on them.
That's a good nickname for cars, tiny little cars, scrotum scrapers. Okay. Well, it
they
appeals
are.
on some very base level, I guess. Yeah. So what about you, Functional? How are the roads in Toronto? Are they terrible or are they decent?
Fucking disgusting.
So roads just suck everywhere except for pre-2006 Texas. Is that basically it?
Yeah. Yeah. The only thing about Texas is the roads are still in great shape. I mean, they really are. People from other states always make that comment. Say, "I can't believe your freeways are, God, they're all perfect," and they are. They're huge. They're overbuilt, and it's still somewhat that way. But you do have periods in Dallas now where there's a real rush hour, like for 20 minutes in the morning and for about 20-30 minutes in the evening. It's really, really congested. I mean, I've heard of people stopping on the freeway.
So let's
Yeah.
see. Mashisu's saying
On the freeways, coming to a full stop.
Chicago's got shit roads. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Chicago's
yeah,
got shit rolls,
the
yeah.
Dan Ryan.
Yeah.
The Dan Ryan and the Kennedy. Forget about it.
I do have to say that when I lived in Louisville, the two main highways, because they have the two ring highways that like circle the city, the outer
Yep.
ring and the inner ring. Those were pretty dang good. Other than the normal like how they did older highways where they were in the sections where you go da-dink, 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 but it's not actually like a big bump. It's just where they have that like seam
Oh,
in the cement.
Louisville is very overbuilt, or at least they were very overbuilt when I was doing consulting there about 2005.
I was there for 3.5 years. I was almost never in standstill traffic on the highways. Like,
Yep.
of course, when you get
Same.
off of them, it's going to happen. But yeah. So
I have a stupid
they were pretty
question
good.
for you, Serenity.
shoot me.
What is there one thing? If there was, okay, can you name one thing that you miss about Louisville? I can't say it properly, so I'll just mumble. Is there like one thing you think? Is there a thing you miss about it that you would like to have again?
I liked being that close to Fort Knox because that was fun for me because I went to the General Sherman Museum a lot. I like General Sherman.
Okay.
I really like their
Start with
zoo.
you.
Their zoo is really nice. I still like the Columbus Zoo better, but the Louisville Zoo is really nice. You get your steps in, that's for dang sure. But there was also there's a lot of food places that are there that haven't come to West Virginia. Skep wouldn't have been here at the right time. There's a thing called Papa Murphy's. It's a pizza place.
Yeah, they have those all
Yeah, I
over.
know Papa Murphy's.
Okay, I wasn't
Yeah,
sure if
that's
they went that
very
far.
popular.
I think they
west
have
or
them
not.
even in California.
I wasn't sure if they went that far west or not, but I really like Papa Murphy's. They had really good Korean food, like made by actual Koreans.
Yeah, we have some of those.
Man, I had to go down Bardstown Road where all the frickin' hippies are, but deal with it. But yeah, I like that thing, but I like that stuff. But it's one of those. Louisville's still only 3 hours away for me, so it's not like it's that bad.
Well, I guess it isn't that far, is it? If you can dodge the potholes and make it there.
Well, it's like also Derby Week was always really fun as long as you didn't have to go anywhere. Because they did fireworks all the time, and there was all kinds of stuff like that.
Well, speaking of not going anywhere, it's so good. I hope you're all sitting down, because this is going to come as a huge shock to you. This is going to be the most shocking thing you've ever heard. From the Twitter account of Richard Mansell, one of the guys associated with the satellite Berry 1 and the QI drive. Sadly, Berry 1 had ongoing power system issues on the bus through low Earth orbit. And after 2 months of operations toward the end of low Earth orbit, Rogue Space Corporation lost communication with the satellite. IVO Limited never had an opportunity to test the QI quantum drive. I know. I was shocked too.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
It's the drive that was supposed to move the satellite using unconventional, almost heretical physics. It challenges one of Newton's 3 laws.
I must have missed that episode when you all were talking about it because this is not ringing any bells for me.
Yeah, well, it deals with a principle called quantum inertia. And essentially it's, God, how do I describe it briefly? Essentially, he's saying that at very small amounts of impulse, inertia behaves differently.
Okay.
And it was the theory was put forward by a guy, I can't remember what the name of the professor is. But anyway, I think it is Mansell, the guy I'm talking about here. But they were going to test this thing and change the history of space aviation with their reactionless thruster. You know, essentially a thing that you just give it electricity and you can maneuver a satellite without needing any fuel.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it'd be great if it works. It would explain a lot of things, like without dark matter, it would explain why the outer arms of many galaxies move the way they do, and it'd be great. I mean, it'd be awesome if the world of physics was completely upended.
I'm sad they failed, but at the same time, judging from someone's tone, it's not a surprise.
But I believe at the time, my hot take was this looks like the kind of thing you do when you're just trying to get money from people for investment. You know, it's just sort of chumming the waters. Yeah, it's super sexy.
sounding.
Don't you want to have your name associated with a revolution in physics?
Right.
Yeah.
Do you ever wonder why little electrons sometimes resist changes to their motion at
Yeah.
a quantum level?
Did I ever tell you the joke, Skep, about the 2 atoms walking down the street? I think it probably did.
What happened?
So it's these 2 atoms walking down the street, and then the first atom turns to the second atom and says, "Hey, I think you just lost an electron."
Are you
and the second
positive?
atom,
I'm wearing that shirt.
literally right now, well, we're not turning on your camera.
I think I'm still wearing that shirt.
Are you wearing
I
the
had
shirt
on
right now?
earlier.
there you
Oh,
go.
I was wearing it earlier. I'm actually wearing my Some Dumb American merch shirt.
Does it? You should wear a shirt that says surf.
Yeah,
There you go.
exactly. Absolutely.
You don't surf.
No, but I was wearing the shirt my grandchildren gave me with that joke on it earlier today, and then I went and worked out.
Okay. I love that joke. All right.
Anyway, I
Moving on. Let's see.
can't believe you told a joke I have a shirt of.
Of course. Let's see. Oh, let's see. So we were talking about millennials earlier. So there's a series of articles. Maybe we should just look at them all at the same time and discuss them as one article. Okay, so the first article is American hustle culture is dying. Millennials are willing to take a 20% pay cut for a better work-life balance.
Okay.
No, that's not big one. No, we have to do all three at once, and then you get to go first, Serenity. Okay. Let me just say what the three things are, and then you're on deck. Unemployed Gen Zers are having to turn down work because they can't afford to commute and uniform, reports shows. And the third one is Gen Z self-sabotaging spending on caviar bumps, luxury holidays, and designer bags is being driven by housing market rebellion and influence lifestyle envy. Go, Serenity.
Okay. First off, if you have to if you can't figure out how to do a healthy work-life balance, that it doesn't matter what your pay cut's going to be. It doesn't matter. You're going to mess it up anyway. Truth of the matter. That's just, if you're that pathetic, that's on you, sugar tits. Oh God. The Gen Zers stuff. What was the second one? Gen Zers are turning down work because he can't afford the commute. All right, the commute thing. At this point, there's so much work from home crap. If you can't do that, maybe you should go back to community college and get an associate's degree and do something else. I don't know, just putting it out there.
Can we just briefly make notice of the fact that they've turned the noun uniform into a verb, which makes me want to just kill somebody. Well, not kill them, just kick them in the nuts repeatedly.
Well, also, it's like the thing at least from what I'm assuming they're getting their info from, which is social media. Most Gen Zers on social media who are vocal, which is a very small minority of them, seem to think anything longer than a 10-minute walk is a terrible commute. So I need to know what they consider a commute, what the uniform cost is, because I'm sorry, if you're at least a desk job, you can get polos from Old Navy for pretty cheap and khakis. Stop it. And it's the whole thing with the fact that they're the third article where it's like, we're rebelling against the housing market. You can rebel all you want, sugar. When you're in your 40s and you don't have a house, you're pissed off because you have to keep moving because your landlord keeps upping the rent. You're on your own.
Well, also, in fairness, I can tell you this is not a new Gen Z thing.
Oh yeah, no, it's not. No, there's people in my generation who do it.
There's people in lots of generations who do it. I've noticed for the last few decades that I'll see somebody living in a relatively not affluent neighborhood, right? And you'll see the car they're driving and you think those wheels cost more than my car. You know, just the wheels that you have on your stupid car cost more than my car.
Yeah.
And I work really hard and make a decent income.
Yeah.
And why is it that you're spending all this money? And all I can think is, well, they've just sort of given up. They know they're not going to be able to buy the house that they want, so they're trying to impress the opposite sex and their friends and stuff. They're doing their weird flex with their spinning rims and custom wheels and all this other horse shit.
All right, Grandpa.
No.
Get off your porch.
No. Hey, you kids with your spinner rims.
Was also the fact of like, it's this whole fact of like, anyone who's listened to Dave Ramsey's podcast, radio show, whatever the hell you want to call it, knows that there are so many people out there who make six figures who are drowning in debt. Drowning. And because they're so intent on, well, it's that stupid meme that shows up on social media every once in a while. Well, it's like, I can make the money back, but I only have one chance to do this. No, you don't. There's very few things that are once in a lifetime opportunities, and those usually you don't realize until well after. It's like, take it easy, calm the F down, save your money, drive the used car, live a little bit further out. Once again, we're going to take this back to me in Louisville. We're going to do this. I lived 15 minutes from my work. I paid under $600 a month for a one-bedroom apartment that was 15 minutes from my work. I was 2 minutes from the highway, from an on-ramp on the highway to go to my work. It's not that hard in bigger cities to find places to live that aren't going to charge you an arm and a leg. It's just everyone is so and this, once again, this is a forgotten generation did this, greatest generation, Gen Xers, millennials, all of them do it. It's this whole fact of like, I need to be in the high-rise apartment with the windows and paying too much and driving whatever frickin' expensive car that they want to drive, a Mercedes, BMW. It's like, no, you don't. Who gives an F what these people think? Drive the car that gets you from point A to point B that you like. Live in a nice apartment, not terribly nice, but nice.
Get a G-Wagon.
Oh, God, don't...
Got to get a G-Wagon.
I hate the G-Wagon.
First the G-Wagon, then the G6.
I love cars, and I hate the G-Wagon. But anyway, it's one of those things where it's just kind of like... It's just like... What... It's that whole fact of the group of people who try to act like they don't care what everybody thinks cares the most what everybody thinks, so they try to prove how much they don't care. It's that crap. And it's annoying, and it's just like,
Yeah.
I'm just going to sit here and drink my Dr. Pepper.
Well, the segue for the next thing, I could just use annoying as the jumping off point. San Francisco's Democrat mayor joins Republican effort to roll back law that made it nearly impossible to jail repeated shoplifters and people who deal fentanyl. This is London Breed. She's terrible, but she's less terrible than the rest of the people in city government. I've watched her, snippets of her basically debating people on the city council about things like, hey, maybe we should not let people just die on the streets using fentanyl.
What a concept.
Yeah, what a concept. And unlike the mayor of Oakland, she sort of figured it out earlier. And I've tried to tell people that as bad as she is, she's less bad than a lot of the other options. I mean, once you get past the fact that her name is London Breed, which is a very strange name, I'm not sure how that happened, but okay.
That's when you slap your parents.
So yes, San Francisco is trying to pull its head out of its ass and not be a dystopian hellscape, because London Breed can see what's happening to her city, and she's desperate to not let it happen. Whether she's going to succeed or not seems pretty doubtful.
At this point, so many people who have money are leaving.
Yeah,
and it's like they don't give a shit about the middle class people. They give a shit about the people above middle class. And once they start leaving, they start losing money, and they know it.
Well, last week we talked about Oakland and how a number of the big employers and places like Kaiser Permanente Medical Group are telling people, maybe you don't want to go to lunch. Maybe you should just stay in. Maybe going anywhere is a bad idea in Oakland. Just come to work, do your job, and then leave quickly. PG&E employee, that's the big public utility here, robbed outside company's Oakland headquarters.
That's not hard to believe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Not hard to believe. It sucks, but not hard to believe.
Well, this is like one of those basic things you have to get right, because this actually happened as they were struggling with the rain and all the problems. You know, these people were they were having a bad week, the people who work for PG&E. The weather did a real number on the state, and PG&E took a lot of abuse. And then, you know, you get done working your 15-hour day, you leave the PG&E headquarters, and then get robbed. You can't even go get an In-N-Out burger anymore because everything sucks. Anyway, Oakland is terrible. This is a weird story. So I guess the 49ers are going to the Super Bowl. The Superb Owl tomorrow. Which shows you just how much I care. NFL owners complain 49ers are benefiting too much from hiring people of color.
What?
Let me clarify what this means. I first did what you did and made that noise. They by meeting certain sort of hiring goals throughout the organization, not just the people on the field, they get preferential treatment in the draft. And because they went
Wait, what?
you heard me. By meeting
Holy
certain
shit.
diversity, inclusion, equity targets, they get preferential treatment in the draft.
What happens if all the teams meet those goals? Nobody gets a benefit, or what's the tiebreaker?
I don't know.
Then they'll decide to start picking the teams that are owned by minorities.
Do they compare the people person by person, position by position to see who's more diverse? So if you have black lame lesbians who are otherly blessed with weight, fat black, make her gay and lame, that wins the day. You get the top draft pick on that basis, really.
Well, I mean, but
It's
at the
remarkable.
same time, it's like, I mean, because it says in benefit from hiring people of color into coaching and executive positions. At least when it comes to coaching, the coaching seems to at least worked in their favor because they seem to be doing pretty well with that.
We have a quote. We know we can hire well and diverse. In fact, owners have complained to the league office about the sheer number of compensatory picks the 49ers have received for serving as a pipeline for coaches and executives of color. So just think about this, because essentially they're getting their draft pick tendies for being such good boys. And as you're watching the Super Bowl tomorrow, just think about how this weird thumb on the scale may have affected the eventual outcome of it all.
We'll
Yeah,
see.
they don't have Mahomes, so.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, you also have to remember that, and I'm going to get real derogatory.
Go.
At least most of the people who are going to be tuning in tomorrow are going to be there to like, oh my God, Taylor Swift is fucking Travis Kelce. Oh my God, I have to watch. And that's kind of the shit. That's
They
gonna
haven't
happen.
dropped a sex tape, have they?
Considering how much of a narcissist both of them seem to be, I would not be shocked if it eventually happens.
Because so
but-
we don't actually know what's going on. I love the theories that it's all just some sort of psyop by the NFL.
I think they're both just narcissists who trying to make as much money as they can, but that's me.
You think
but
they're basically each other's beard?
I think Travis Kelce's straight, but I think he wanted to get his
Well,
name.
I mean,
further up.
metaphorically speaking.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Her, I think she has no sexual nature personally, because there's nothing sexual about that woman. But
Well,
he's also part of the Chiefs, so it's a different team.
well, she started out with that youthful glow that that she was pretty young when she started out.
She was 14.
And at this point, a lot of her little screaming fans, they're going to look up and see a Taylor Swift that starts to resemble their mom more than it does them.
Well,
She's getting there close. I mean, she's
34. She's not that old, but yeah.
yeah. Which means, if she'd had a kid when she was 20, she could have, and they're 14, they could be one of her fans now. So
Well, to
she's
say most of
literally
her
old
fans
enough to
are
be
my
their
age.
moms. Are they? So did they actually? So did they actually just sort of follow along? I just assumed she was
yeah.
getting new 14-year-olds with little panda
Well,
backpacks
she
to
is,
like
but
her.
she's getting the older, millennial, late Gen X or early millennial people who had kids young and listened to Taylor when they were raising their kids, and that's what she's getting. But it's terrifying looking at her concerts and seeing how some of these people act. It's like a cult.
She's
It's
not
like-
musically very interesting.
Well, she's not. But most people who are big pop stars,
There are
well, okay,
5
modern
notes in
pop
every song.
3. She's been caught using a 3-chord note system her entire career, but
Well, looking at you, Creedence Clearwater
but
Revival.
yeah, it's just I stopped liking Taylor the minute she stopped being country, because I'm not a big fan of country goes pop. The only one who went from country to pop that I like is Shania Twain, and that's because that woman's got a voice to back that shit up.
She's fun.
But yeah,
You want to be the girl who puts the tree in country, don't you?
Yeah, I think if you're going to
You want
do
to
what
put the tree in there.
if you're going to do what Shania Twain did, it's really a good idea to marry. Was it Mutt Lange?
Well, they divorced because he cheated on her with her best friend.
And not after her career was launched into the stratosphere, though.
Yeah.
No, it happened after. Like this happened.
No, the
2 years
cheating happened after, right? She got the benefit of marrying him. Him sticking around is would have been nice, but she got the benefit of it. So
True.
Oh,
but
how
she's
long
a-
do you think Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift are going to stay together?
I have no
depends.
opinion.
It depends on if he wins the Super Bowl. If he
Yeah,
wins the
whether-
Super Bowl, I
a
think it's
year.
going to go. I think actually, if he wins the Super Bowl, it's going to be about 3 to 6 months, and then they'll break up. If he
Oh.
doesn't, they'll continue going on.
Well, they have to go till after Valentine's Day, don't they? Isn't that
I
the
know.
rule?
That's the reason why I
Oh,
said 3
yeah,
to
they-
6.
They've got
Okay.
marketing agreements. They've got
Yep.
marketing fulfillment to do, I'm sure, for
Okay.
The Kelsey family seems nice, but it's just one of those things where I'm kind of
Valentine's Day.
like, it's just Taylor seems asexual to me.
Yeah.
She just does, and I don't even believe in asexuality.
There are definitely people who are asexual. Not very many of them, but they do exist.
I know
It used to just be given the label of frigidity.
yeah. Well,
know?
it's just I feel like she is because there's nothing. It just doesn't feel.
But I mean, the frigidity thing, it was a big overdiagnosis. Sometimes it was just, for some women in particular, and a few men, intercourse was just painful enough that they just didn't want to do
Yeah.
it. And I don't really think that's the same as just being born with no interest in it.
Yeah. Well, no, it's one of those things where it's kind of like I don't understand the appeal of her. I'm more excited for the fact that Usher's performing at the halftime show. I want to see that. That's what I
There you
care
go.
about.
Are they going to bring the sharks back? I hear that shark guy in the shark costume was really big.
Well, during the Katy Perry thing,
Left
yeah, 'cause
shark,
That was back.
yeah.
That was back when Katy Perry and Taylor Swift were feuding. So Taylor Swift never goes away because God forbid.
Katy Perry's
like
a thousand times funnier than
she's
Taylor
like a
Swift.
carbuncle. She's like
At
a
least Katy Perry
carbuncle.
can laugh at herself, which I like.
I like Katy Perry. But yeah,
I have no
but
issue with her.
It's just So it'll be interesting to see the game what the 49ers do because I don't think the Chiefs. I think people are still pissed at the Chiefs for not changing their name
Well, then I should
because they
root for
want them
them.
to change their name. So it's going to be interesting to see how the game goes tomorrow.
what was the name they were going to change it to?
I don't even remember what it was. I know the Redskins had to change their
The
name, and then all the Native
Wildcats.
Americans got pissed off and said change it back.
Well, no, the Washington Redskins changed their name to the Washington Lesbians. That's true. That is true. That did happen.
Yeah. And you heard it on the internet, so you know it's true.
That's how you know. That's how you can tell because they check before it goes on the big internet board thing.
Yeah. So functional. You doing okay there, man?
Sure.
We just need to get you better topics. So how do you feel about donuts?
I have no. I don't watch any sports ball. If you showed me 3 pictures and said pick out which one's Taylor Swift, I couldn't even do that. I don't know or care about anything about like. I mean, I'm already like not a big music person, but like a lot of the stuff that I don't. I know I won't like. I
Neither
know
is she.
nothing about.
That's
Yeah.
okay. You and I can
It's-
always talk about comic books and food.
We can talk about Tchaikovsky or Tool or Nine Inch Nails. Or
I don't want to talk about
Bowie
Tchaikovsky.
or
She's no
Johnny
Tchaikovsky.
Cash. But like, ask me to name one of the Spice Girls. Cumin? I don't know.
No.
The only reason why I know the Taylor Swift stuff is because it makes me embarrassed for my generation of women.
Yeah.
Because their obsession with
Yeah.
her, it's just like, okay, she's not your friend, sweetheart. Like, stop buying her tickets.
Yeah,
But
I
it's
mean,
an-
I
it's
grew
a-
up
it
in
is
the-
an
I grew up
experience.
in the time where people were having that same fawning over Kurt Cobain, and I even today look back at his music and I go, no, that was trite.
So
I don't know
functional.
why anybody.
Boring.
So functional. I want to do one more California thing, and then I have a topic that's just for you,
Perfect, because
basically.
I want to have a cigarette.
It's a perfect topic for you, so don't go too far away. Okay. Look, I drove him away. I tried to make him feel like more part of the show, and I ended up driving him out to the
Sometimes
balcony.
when you try and bring them close,
Yeah,
push them
exactly.
away.
So, This is fun. San Jose donut shop owner arrested for selling pink cocaine. Now, I did not know what pink cocaine was, but apparently it's a synthetic drug often referred to as Pink Panther or TUSI, T-U-S-I. Am I pronouncing that correctly?
Yeah.
Yep.
Tessie.
Yeah. So it's not just they call it pink cocaine, but also Pink Panther, Pantera rosa. This drug has so many nicknames, and they're all good. I think pink
Well, street
cocaine,
drugs always
Pink
do.
Panther,
Yeah, street drugs
Pantera
always
rosa.
got
This
good
sounds
names.
pretty exciting. It's usually a combination of ketamine, ecstasy, and amphetamines in varying combinations.
That sounds awesome.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's just like, that's an upper and a downer and a sidewayser.
That's a drug for achievers, people who get shit done. You know. So functional, you're working. You're a line chef, and you're working like a 12-hour day. Do you think a little Pantera rosa would help you through that shift?
Hell no, cocaine.
Yeah, just bump it. Just go. Let's
No,
do this.
honestly, me, I just got really stoned and lost
There you
myself
go.
in my work and just banged out food.
Yeah.
But there was a chapter in my time in my history where I did, drugs and ketamine and ecstasy. I know ketamine's a downer and it dissociates your mind from your body.
It's a horse tranquilizer.
Yes.
Well, in large
But
doses,
the effects on the human body are disassociation. So your mind and your body kind of pull apart. They don't fully detach, but they kind of pull apart. And then the
Cool.
ecstasy, everybody kind of knows what ecstasy does. It gives you,
Oh, yeah.
it gets you really going. And the combination of the two was truly one of my favorite things to do when I was partying. I've never really been a big drinker, but I did like those kinds of drugs. And I know it sounds contradictory, but it's actually a really nice balance.
Yeah.
Well, it's like, I know.
I'm a drug sommelier or something.
Well, I know they've started to use ketamine to help certain people with really bad PTSD
Yes.
to help them process it,
The
which I am all for.
The therapeutic
I am all for.
applications of ketamine on itself to itself is really good.
Well, it's like it's actually really fast how quickly they bounce back from stuff too. It's like
the biggest
so.
problem you have when you deal with these kinds of drugs, Serenity, other than not knowing exactly where everything comes
Excuse me.
from. And,
I just have to interrupt. You're talking about a drug. You're not talking about pink cocaine. Pink cocaine is actually a drug. I thought it was. I had to look it up. This is the thing that was developed in 1970 at Harvard by Alexander Shulgin. And he was a guy who was researching drugs like ecstasy, MDMA. He was an organic chemist, and he developed this thing called 2CB. It has a lot of similarities to what would happen if you ingested cocaine mixed with methamphetamine, and that's why people think that's what's in it. But it actually is its own drug. Additionally, I suspect what's happening is people are saying, "Oh, I can make that by combining, ecstasy, throwing a little speed and some ketamine, and I can see where they would try and add on to this." But actual pink cocaine, Pink Panther, as they call it, it has been around for a long time and is actually it's a chemical called 2CB.
Yeah, except no substitutes, folks. Yeah, but I like the fact that it was a
good
donut.
shit.
It was a donut shop in San Jose called Yum Yum Donuts.
Yum Yum
gotta
Donuts.
put that on the donut to sprinkle that pink.
I mean, if I
Yeah.
get depressed or had PTSD or something, donuts would be probably my go-to. Just don't need
Donuts
any.
with cocaine? Are you kidding?
Yeah,
Life
frosted.
does not get better than that.
I like the pink frosted donuts at Yum Yum Donuts.
Yeah. You know,
Yeah, I
Frozen
told you that where I was getting. I know I told you the story about where I was getting my hair cut. I don't know, 15 something years ago. Turned out they had like a money laundering prostitution thing going on the side, and I naive me who just isn't really that jaded even still did not realize what was going on. It helps that I'm legally blind when I take my glasses off.
There you go, Harry.
I literally can't see a damn thing.
Apparently even when it's in front of your face.
It wasn't in front of my face. It was all discreetly happening in another part of the building that I didn't go to. So what do I know? I know. Sweet
dull
summer
moment.
child. That's me. Are you back functional?
Yeah.
Okay.
Never left.
So I had a thought the other day, and you're going to tell me I'm full of shit, but I've thought about the difference between Star Trek fans and Star Wars fans.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh, just bear with me. It won't take long. Okay. And I find that
Buckle up, everybody.
I find that with Star Trek, because we had like the TV series, right? And you had a fairly small group of people, the same people. You really got to know the backstory and really understand the characters in a way that you couldn't watching Star Wars in the movies. Now, of course,
Right.
there's the books and things, but you really had a different relationship. I always felt that Star Trek and Star Wars were vastly different because of just the way you experienced them and the amount of stuff that was out there. And I was thinking about the different. I went back and this. Okay, don't judge too hard, Serenity. I've been watching a lot of vintage TV.
Oh, God.
Just for giggles, I went back and thought I'd go back and sample a little of Lois and Clark season 1.
Yes.
And I realized that I really don't like comic book things that much. I don't like the Marvel stuff all that much. But I really do have a soft spot for a lot of the stuff in the DC universe.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, as I was trying to figure out why I liked one thing more than the other, what it was. And I thought to myself, much like with the Star Trek, Star Wars thing, I feel like I know more about Superman and his character, for instance. I know
He's less complicated.
he's less
Marvel
complicated, but
characters are complicated.
there's a lot of depth in terms of his backstory, and you can almost have like a parasocial relationship with him in a way
Depth
that
and
I don't.
complication are not the same.
But
thing.
I don't feel like that same kind of connection to anybody in the Marvel universe, with the exception of maybe Spider-Man.
Yeah. That's fair.
And Spider-Man, unlike a lot of the other ones, you sort of know his story with his background and the uncle
Right.
and the death and that sort of stuff. And I was sort of thinking that, in a way, DC is to Marvel as Star Trek is to Star Wars. Functional, tell me I'm stupid.
I don't think you're stupid, but I don't think you're entirely correct. I think there's a lot of overlap there. For every Superman, there's or Iron Man or Batman or whatever. There's almost and in some cases it is a carbon copy, but there's a mirror of that character, almost one for one, on the other side. But the part where you say that there's different relationships given the medium, I entirely agree. I've been saying for the longest time now, we don't need another Batman, Superman, Spider-Man, X-Men, whatever origin fucking story. We all know how Wolverine became Wolverine. We all know how Superman became Superman. Enough is enough. This is one example of why I loved Iron Man 2 so much. A lot of people hate it, but for me, it was like, it's a perfect day in the life of Iron Man kind of story. It's not big, it's not grandiose, not everything has to have like the world-shattering implications of Superman reversing time and saving Lois and all that. But like, it's sometimes just having a day in the life story is just a really good piece of. And I like your caveat about the Star Wars thing, because yes, the books did flush it out a lot more, and you related a lot more to some of these characters. But it's funny that you made these observations, just kind of,
Well, there's also the fact that DC has been made into interpretive media's visual mediums a lot more than Marvel has. Like, we look at the last 20 years of Marvel, and it's like, oh yeah, no, there's a lot. But when you look at the timeline, like, there were Superman movies going all the way back to the 60s. So it's,
I
especially
used
if
to watch them.
yeah, like,
yeah, but
black and
there
white
have been
television
Marvel.
stuff.
There have been
have
Marvel
been.
movies too. It was the original Captain America, the
There
shitty
was,
Spider-Man, the Hulk TV show.
yeah, but they just weren't. They didn't grab America's attention as much as like the Superman movie did. the very first one.
The George,
Yeah, I mean,
George Reeves, it was the television show. George Reeves in the television show was really what grabbed it. Now that ran in the 50s,
Yeah.
and
Well, it's like Batman
that was
too.
that was the it's weird that George Reeves and Christopher Reeve both played Superman, 20 years apart.
Yeah.
But even so, the public's imagination was captured, and Superman with Christopher Reeve was really kind of a remake of that 1950s television show. That's what I'm trying to spit out here.
Yeah, it's a long-running property. I would, in terms of superhero type stuff, you had like the Shadow on radio. You even had successful radio stuff, but
And Assassin, don't start.
I'll look at Assassin's comment
Right now, don't start.
in a moment. So, like, for instance, just to sort of illustrate the point, I would be surprised if Functional you can name the parents of Iron Man.
Martha?
Nice try.
I love
The thing is that you know what Superman. You have an idea of what Superman was like as a kid. You have an idea of what Batman was like as a kid. You know what kind of relationship he had with his parents, adopted or otherwise. You know what that backstory is kind of like. And if you're a real nerd and you really get into it, you know about the whole thing with Superman and the cornfield and there's a lot of stuff that happened there that's interesting. I was trying to think, why does something like this all started because I was trying to think, why does something like Lois and Clark work? Well, I think it was made for ABC, so it had like a primetime budget. Deborah Joy Levine actually knew what the hell she was doing putting the show together. There's elements of it that are clearly dated, but one of the things that really made it hold together is, first of all, Terry Hatcher is hard not to look at. She's just absolutely beautiful in this show. Okay. Yep. Even though the character she plays is kind of annoying, she herself is just a feast for the eyes.
Terry Hatcher is, she draws the eye. She really
She draws the eye. And I mean this not in a perverted, terrible way, but I mean, aesthetically, she's just very pleasing. The guy Lane Smith, who played Perry White, was exceptional. I mean, to my mind, he's the best editor of the Daily Planet in any of the incarnations that have come along. I think that John Shea, who played Lex Luthor, is my favorite Lex Luthor of all the Superman properties that have ever come out. He's incredibly good.
It's a lot better than Gene Hackman.
A lot better than Gene Hackman. A lot better, with all due respect to Michael Rosenbaum, who I think was fine, but John Shea it's by far the most sinister Lex Luthor. I mean, he really was kind of evil and terrible and a genius. But anyway, we don't have to talk about this forever because there's a bunch of other stuff to talk about. We can talk about this after the show if it still resonates. So what is chat saying? Do I want to know? Let's see.
No,
are they even on topic at all? Or are they?
I was very worried Assassin was going to start his the Shadow is better than Batman thing.
No,
the Shadow is they're two
Empire.
different things, and the Shadow is awesome.
Yeah, and Mushy says right. It's Howard and Maria Stark.
Yeah. So okay, enough of my my comic book sophistry. Let's see, where were we? Okay. Let's see, how are we doing for time? Oh, actually, we've been talking for a while. Gen Z, California sucks, Pink Donuts, space. Let's do a little more space stuff. So we've got some new pictures of Io, one of the moons of Jupiter. Now, Io is such a tortured planet. It's sitting here just getting energy constantly by passing through Jupiter's magnetic field. Orbiting Jupiter is not a fun thing to do for Io. No. So it basically has volcanic eruptions all the freaking time. It's a really tough planet to be, but these pictures are just amazing that they've taken of this planet. To see it in this kind of detail is just insane.
Wasn't there at one point that there was talk of we could use Io as like a spaceport planet, like a hub or something like that?
No, Io's the one that has
you know what that
suspected
black is, Harry?
Water.
Oh, okay, that's what it was.
Is that
I think it's
Stacey Abrams' shadow?
Ganymede has enough of a magnetosphere that we could set up domes. I'm not going to go through all the different moons, but there are a few moons, and this is all supposition. It's all hypothesis, and even then, it's a long ways away. We don't have nearly the level of technology we would need to sustain those types of things, but we are finding things like minerals, water, the potential for microbial life. I think Io had suspected of that.
Yeah.
I mean, basically anywhere you could find water, you could find microbial life. It's all up in the air right now. We haven't.
Is there speculation the reason why Jupiter's gravitational field hasn't completely just wrecked it, like destroyed it, like broken it apart?
Doesn't get close enough.
So it gets close enough for it to like screw with it and make the volcanoes show up, but it doesn't get close enough.
Jupiter is one.
Well, there's
giant
tidal
ball of
stresses
energy
from
Okay.
from gravity as well
Imagine a planet made out of almost completely of sulfur and sulfur compounds. Sulfur permeates every part of that planet. Sulfur is happy to exchange electrons, but practically an electron whore. That means it's happy to have lots of reactions with all kinds of interesting things. Add all that radiant and electromagnetic energy it receives from Jupiter, plus the tidal stresses. That's a happening place.
Yeah.
You gotta believe that is just a happening place.
Yeah. Yeah, it's got more sulfur than Stacey Abrams after an omelet buffet.
Well, so okay,
Nice.
is there any speculation to what the sulfur compounds are?
No.
What
We
no,
see we
no,
have,
let me
have
tell
them
you,
in the spectrograph.
You have these are all every compound you can think of that sulfur can make, and many that have never been thought of is what you'll find up there. You have all manner of both immediacy of thermal events. There are things that when you heat sulfur very rapidly, it behaves one way. When you heat it, a little more gradually, it behaves another way. All these things are happening in all directions, in all kinds of electromagnetic environments on that planet. Oh, God, I would just love to observe it. I would just love to be close enough to observe it.
Except there's no water, so all the aqueous things like sulfurous and sulfuric acid, you don't have to worry about that. We leave that to the smelting works in Ontario. The smelting works in Ontario and big parts of China. Let's see, where else do we have really good acid rain?
Well, China is like the
and
champion
Venus
of acid rain.
Probably North Korea too. They just won't admit to it.
Yeah. Well, anyway, enough about those terrible places. So I mentioned that the Psyche probe was using lasers for transmitting data back to Earth at much higher bandwidth than you were able to get with radio. So essentially, this picture you're seeing here, there is a radio telescope, and it has a optical receiver near the focal point of this thing. So they're using this device can simultaneously receive both laser and radio messages from the Psyche probe. And so this is a nice little combination. It's working beautifully. It's about a third of the way from the Earth to the Sun right now. Let's see, 20 million miles. So actually less than that. I was thinking 32 million miles. So 20 million miles away. And we're still getting megabits, 15.63 megabits per second. That is a fantastic data rate.
That is unbelievable.
Yeah.
What is the data rate from Voyager?
0 in one case.
Well, yeah, but you know what I'm saying.
I know what you're saying, but it's 40 times the speed you get from radio frequency.
Right.
So latency is still the same, unfortunately, but the throughput is outstanding.
160. It is 160. I was going to say it was 300. It's not. It's 160 bits. There's 8 bits in a byte, kids. Okay, that's 20 bytes. 20 bytes. Not kilobits. Not megabits. Not terabits. Not gigabits.
Not giggly bits.
Bytes.
Yep. But
Bites.
this is all good. It's actually going really well. So we'll continue to follow this as things develop. All right.
And that was state of the art then.
Yeah. NASA's Voyager 1 probe is malfunctioning in deep space due to a critical memory error.
Yeah.
A bit was flipped or corrupted in the volatile memory of the flight data subsystem used to control Voyager 1. Yeah, it's basically done. So we've
It's been
just
done for a little bit.
Yeah.
Everyone salute the Voyager.
but it has so far exceeded expectations that we knew it was going to happen eventually.
Oh yeah, no technology is perfect or forever.
No. And
Boy,
space
some
is
alien's got to be surprised someday. No,
Yeah.
no, no, it won't. It's not going fast enough to.
it's got that
ever get to an
fantastic
alien.
gold record on it.
Yeah, let's see.
It's got some Taylor Swift songs on there and
There you go.
yeah. Good times. Oh wait, no it doesn't. The story of the gold record on Voyager is a story for another time.
Well, it was actually removed just before launch, and it was last seen at a secret auction in Europe. That was on the internet.
Nice. So it must be true.
That's how you know.
Yeah.
They won't put it out there if it's not true.
So functional, I think you'll like this, or maybe you'll hate this. We'll see. Astronomers spot gigantic black hole killing a galaxy star formation at the dawn of time. So you're familiar with quasars, quasi-stellar objects? Maybe you are. I don't know.
Yes.
Okay, so it used to be for the longest time we would look out toward the edge of observable space, billions and billions of years back toward the beginning of the universe, and we would see these insanely bright objects. We had no idea what the hell they were.
Yes.
Turns out they're black holes gobbling stuff up, and as it spins in, tons of energy gets spewed off of these things before it hits the event horizon. That's what quasars are. We didn't know that when I was a kid. But they've actually made an observation using a telescope in Chile, where they've been able to see that the outgas from this quasar, from this black hole, it's causing so much outgassing, so much pressure coming outward that it's actually messing up the star formation in this young galaxy. So the question of why aren't there more stars in these galaxies early on? Well, things were so chaotic that you couldn't form stars because essentially it was like trying to light a candle in a 60-mile-an-hour wind. That's basically what was happening to the star formation in a lot of these early galaxies. Because these supermassive black holes hadn't reached any kind of equilibrium with their surroundings.
Yeah.
And it was just blowing out the candle on everything that tried to turn into a star for a while.
Oh, man. The
Yeah,
universe
so this
is
is-
such a harsh mistress.
The universe does not care.
They don't give a
just-
shit.
It's the honey badger of honey badgers.
Yeah.
It don't give a shit.
Don't give no
Yeah.
shit.
The striking cosmic scene made just 900 million years after the Big Bang confirms theoretical predictions that extremely luminous black holes called quasars douse star formation by spitting out high-speed torrents of gas. Well, we've observed it now. So that theory
Well, I mean,
has been
we've observed Stacey
supported.
Abrams. We already knew this.
Yeah. These rapids of molecular gas composed of oxygen bonded with hydrogen are the primary fuel for star formation, but by ejecting gas that flows too fast to be consumed by growing stars, quasars quench the ability of stars to form in the region.
Yep.
The researchers published their findings in February 1 in the Astrophysical Journal. So there you go. More space news. So let's see, who will like this? I think everybody will like this. Palworld server costs nearly $500,000 per month as network engineers ordered to never let the service go down no matter what.
So weird.
There's nothing weird about this. This is amazing.
No, it is weird. Why does the servers cost so much?
Oh,
Other game servers don't cost that
the
much.
other game servers don't cost so much because they weren't given the directive of keep it running no matter what. To keep it running no matter what, you have to spend a lot more money
Yep.
because what you're dealing with is something called site reliability. Well, specifically the application.
6-9 problem.
Yeah, so every 9 that you add, so 99% of the time is pretty easy to do, 99.9, a little
That's
bit harder. And as you keep adding 9s to that, you get past 5 9s, the amount of money you spend goes up almost exponentially because to keep this server up and running so that they never have to apologize to people that it's a stable service, which is a big selling point, right? Because nobody wants to use buggy shit. If they want to do that, they can just use City Skylines too. But the person who runs Pal World, Respect, just said, no, we're going to make it an objective of our business to have a service that doesn't suck. And so
Good
they're
for you,
spending
man.
real money to not have a service that sucks. Good
Well,
for them.
Kind of. See, they are part of Xbox's. They get money from Game Pass, from Xbox's Game Pass. So they also get access to some benefits to being connected to Microsoft. So he joked about the 500,000, but they're not actually paying that. But it's still like him being like, we need to keep this shit going. It's still really good. But he has a tendency to also be a snarky little shit sometimes.
Yeah.
I'm not the biggest fan of the man, but
Yeah. Well, so many of these businesses, basically, they've got their little spreadsheet. They're trying to become profitable as quickly as possible. And they're trying to take the shortest route they possibly can. Roll big, because, you know, there's only two options, success or failure. And this is a very different attitude. This is sort of like saying failure is not an option. We're going to produce a service. And if we fail, it's because of the quality of our product, not because of our ability to deliver it.
At this point, I think they've sold 13 million copies, and that's not including the people who pay for Game Pass who are playing on Game Pass. So they've got probably, I'm going to lowball it, the possibility of having 15 million players at any point. I think it's probably going to be more. I think it's probably a lot more than that. But their game is also not that graphical drawing either.
Yeah.
It's not Arc. Let's just be direct. It's not Arc. So it's not going to have the same graphical tendencies. Yeah, and also I think the cap for, I want to say some of the servers have caps on them for how many players you can have, but yeah, more power to them. But they're getting money from Microsoft too for doing this, not just the games they're selling. So they're doing pretty good money wise.
Well, they could just as easily, with somebody who had different priorities, decide to drop a couple nines from that and say, well, good enough probably is.
Yes.
I was once involved with some venture capitalists, and when I was doing reviews of business proposals for them. Okay, so I'm in a room with a couple of venture capitalists, me and my business partner at the time. We're going over these proposals, and I'm evaluating them for technical merit. And broadly speaking, we're talking about the business merit of these things. And this one guy gets a phone call, and one of their little ventures they were trying to put together was a car wash, because that's a great place to put your extra money, right? Get a car wash. And the guy said the following thing: no, don't bother painting that wall. The customers will never see it. And then the phone call ended. And, you know, you have those moments where you realize you don't want to be dealing with people anymore. That was... That was the moment where I realized I did not want to deal with these people anymore. I just can't wrap my head around that attitude. Maybe that's why I'm not good at business.
You just made me so happy to be retired.
But you know what I'm talking about, Skep. Those conversations. It's like, no, paint the damn wall. Car washes are full of moisture, and drywall doesn't. You know, it's like, no, don't cut corners. So, you know, respect for producing a service that we're not talking about all the time because it's constantly crashing.
I know that you've been in a 5.9 shop. You probably mostly 5.9 shops, and you know, like TRW is.
I'm actually
that I've been in.
Oh, dude, I'm actually much more often on like the bleeding edge of stuff, where 5.9s is a fantasy. There's no way when you're on the fringe, the lunatic fringe of development, that I would see 5.9s.
No, that's true. That's true. Your world is.
Yeah, I very much live in the 99% world, the 2.9s
See, I
world.
went from your world. I went from your world to the banking world.
Yeah,
where
that's different.
5.9s is what you know. Hope we hit it this year. I mean, it was really like that.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, I mean, I don't know if some of our tech people are in the chat right now, but things you do, like you have to have lots of extra servers. Everything has to be high availability. Yes. So where you would have one of something, you are going to have at least 3 or more where n is an odd number. Everything, all network interfaces
All network
bonded.
interfaces are duplexed.
Well, they're
Yep.
no, not duplex. Well, bonded. All
Yeah,
networks
that-
are
you know
bonded,
what I'm
and then
talking
each of those bonds
You know
goes
just
to a
what I mean.
goes to a separate thing on a different chassis. Each part of the chassis goes to
Exactly,
a separate
cross chassis,
PDU.
Right.
Each of those PDUs goes to a different PDU for the data center.
Every layer you try and rotate, and take it out of you try and disrupt the path of failure, a single path of failure, and that's what you're basically doing.
Yeah, and sorry if the whole VC thing sounds like a weird humble brag. I just sort of fell into that situation, so I don't take it super seriously. Yeah, it was a weird time.
You have an interesting life, Harry. I think it's wonderful.
Well, when they were trying to figure shit out, the whole beginning of the internet thing, when they were trying to figure shit out, if you
When
had
we were
any,
trying
if
to
you were in the
figure
right place at the
shit
right
out.
time, and you knew and you had any technical expertise, there were people that were just hungry to get you to do stuff.
That's it.
It's not like it is
true.
now. It's not like it is now. But I do remember Terry Hatcher actually came up in one of those conversations. I think I mentioned this because we were talking about doing IP protection as one of the services that I was trying to sort of pitch to lawyers and people in entertainment. And at the time, a picture of Terry Hatcher wearing no clothes but with a Superman cape wrapped around her was the most downloaded image on the internet. It had been downloaded 100,000 times. And Terry Hatcher was asked how she felt about that, and she said, well, I guess it depends. Is it 100,000 people downloading it once or one guy downloading it 100,000 times?
I just love the brain that comes up with that.
And I know I've told that story before, but Terry Hatcher,
Love that heart.
Terry Hatcher is a really, really smart woman.
It's just a natural comedic turn of mind.
Well, she has a math background. Actually grew up in Sunnyvale, in where a bunch of the mid-century Eichlers are. I know the neighborhood
that
she grew
right?
up in. Yeah,
Huh.
yeah. I know some things about some things. All right, enough self-indulgent crap. Let's see. I mean, self-indulgent because I'm just thinking about my memory lane stuff, and it can't be that interesting to most people. Where are we on the spreadsheet?
She's 59. Terry Hatcher is 59. How the hell did that happen?
Yeah. So let's talk about Starlink again, and not the thing that most people talk about, because I know there's a new version of Starlink that's come out. But this is a lesser known thing that's going on. These are called community gateways. Starlink's latest offering gigabit gateways starting at $75,000 per month. If you live in the middle of nowhere and want to start an ISP, you can give Elon $75,000 a month to get a 1 gigabit service. Now, that doesn't sound like a lot, but if you are in the middle of nowhere, this is the only option. You know what it's like to not have internet. For a lot of people, that's a problem. So being able to bring a gigabit internet gateway to parts of the world that are kind of underserved, that might actually be worth $75,000.
Looking at you, Alaska.
Yeah.
Alaska finally gets internet. It's one of the big things my son's struggling with is he's moving to Alaska in about 2 months.
Well, how fast is the basic Starlink service? Isn't it like a few tens of megabits, hundreds of megabits? It's not a lot.
I'll tell you real quick.
But if you had like a business, this is actually cheap compared to putting your own
Starlink
satellite
users typically experience download speeds of between 25 and 220 Mbps, with a majority of users experiencing speeds over 100 megabits per second. Upload speeds are typically between 5 and 20 megabits per second.
Mm-hmm.
If you're bringing that to somebody out in the woods, hell yeah.
Yeah.
It sounds like they've done a really good job of like trying to anticipate performance demands, for their network. From what I've read, it looks like they at least spent a lot of money researching.
They have. But you remember how much, I don't remember how much it was, but like if you wanted a satellite T1 That was 10 megabits, and you had to have a big
Right.
old dish.
Yes.
And that was a lot of money. So if you weren't basically near dark fiber somewhere, or some kind of fiber, some kind of metro Ethernet, your options were pretty limited. I do think that 75,000 is going to be a tough sell, except for the people who really, really, really need it. In which case they'll be just here, take my money.
Government, research stations, remote locations, military bases out in the middle of nowhere. There's applications. I just think that it's probably going to be on the number one the consumer of this will be government entities.
Yeah. We haven't done any palette cleansers. Well, mostly because most of this stuff is not terribly distressing. But we could look at a palette cleanser.
How about that Putin interview?
Okay, we could start with a cringe one. So this is a 1995 Sprite TV commercial, and it just makes my skin crawl. Let me know if I'm just being stupid.
This is how we work it. Grab the big Sprite and we jerk it right out the fridge.
Jerk
just
it.
like this with a dab dib. Yeah.
I give a pound to my man with my right hand because I keep the Sprite in the left hand.
Okay.
I feel sorry for these people. I feel ashamed for them. This is terrible, right? Or am I
they
just...
got paid? It's awful, but they got paid.
The button when I don't want to hear nothing.
Yeah.
Fuck.
It's a free country, but it does make me sad.
My God, everybody involved at Sprite's advertising agency needs to be
Everybody's
fired.
an adult here, but
you know that thing for the Kentucky Fried Chicken with I forget, we had that ads, what was it? It was like with LeBron James's family and Kentucky Fried Chicken. That was a way better ad than this. This is people trying to go street, and it just does not.
It's not happening.
It does not work.
Jesus Christ, is Miniga.
Yeah, exactly.
Fair enough.
That was a thing. And then this was an art demonstration that I saw, which struck me as being kind of amazing.
Will you spray my laptop for me?
Yes.
You spray it?
Oh,
a good picture of the Colosseum, yeah?
Okay.
This is kind of amazing that this guy can do this. I can't even draw a straight line without a ruler. I would be slightly terrified by somebody using flames near my laptop like that.
Especially if I look for a pig for an apple.
I have no artistic skill. I can't imagine a brain that works like this.
I'm with you, Harry. Same way. Hopeless. What are you doing? Making stars?
I think I'm hopeless, but other people don't, so they give me money to do it. That's fucking nice.
Wow.
It's pure fire, man.
Yeah, take 50.
Seal the paint.
Thank you so much. Last 10 minutes.
That
Thank
is
you so much.
like,
Will
holy
you spray my
cow.
laptop?
I see people who do shit like that, and it's like my brain can't even imagine how that person's brain works.
Right. That is just a very interesting skill set that he just demonstrated. Just fucking amazing.
It is just fucking amazing.
I have no other words for that. That was really astonishing, Harry. Thank you for showing me that.
Yeah, I was. Okay, here's one for you. Here's one for you, Skep. You're gonna love this, I think.
Thanks.
AMD's classic Athlon CPUs emblazoned with etchings of Texas and revolvers. So on the chip, if you have a sufficiently powerful microscope, you can actually see they put a tiny little Texas and a tiny little revolver firing a little pew pew.
And they've even got all the rivers and river. Are those the rivers or those roads?
I don't know,
It's
but
like
I think I
those are
see a
the
circle
rivers.
where Austin was because people don't realize AMD had a big presence in Austin decades ago.
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely they did.
So they're very much
Austin
a
was
Texas
gonna
company.
Be, where it was happening, Dell and all that stuff.
Yeah.
That was all happening down there. And Compaq, HP had a big activity down there.
I like these little Easter eggs because it's got to be if you need an electron
Oh, hell yeah.
microscope to see an Easter egg, or a powerful microscope at the very least, that shows dedication. This isn't just somebody going through Who Framed Roger Rabbit one frame at a time, hoping for a panty slip, a little fan service. This is like, you have to buy like actual equipment to figure this out. I like this.
Who Framed Roger Rabbit?
Oh, there's supposedly some stuff that some bored Disney people snuck into Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
It's the rivers. It is the rivers. Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
It has the river, all the river basins, and it's even got the big reservoirs. I've got the magnifying glass cranked up like 600, and I've got it over the thing.
Yeah.
The image that you're showing on
550 to
TV.
800 megahertz. Nice.
Tell you what. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, there's the Brazos, there's the Guadalupe.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's
Awesome.
pretty cool. I like that. All right, so let's see. Where should we go? We talked about space. There's a quantum thing which I'm going to defer because we don't have a ton of time. We have a bunch of science things. Let's see. We're not going to talk about sea otters. Oh, let's talk about a little bit of this outrage here. So this is from ArtNet. Well, at least it should be showing something, but apparently the article has disappeared. I'll tell you what it said. Indigenous groups respond after U.S. museums cover native artifacts. Have you heard about this story at all?
No.
Yeah, there's some legislation that's come down at the federal level that essentially says that if you want to show native artifacts in the U.S. at museums and things, you have to have permission from the groups of people that are the descendants of the people who are attributed to the artifacts.
Another payoff bullshit. This is an illegal law. If this gets challenged, it'll be thrown out.
So what's happened is they've just covered the exhibits up in most places, and what I think is going to happen is there'll be a big shakedown. You want to get permission? Well, some consideration will have to be made.
Exactly.
And I hope, honestly, they just cover them up.
From us.
Yeah, here, have your shit back. We were going to talk about your place in history and your contribution and all your place in the development of modern humans and all this other stuff. We were going to do that, but instead you decided to be greedy and
so here's your shit.
Here's your
bury
shit
it in the backyard. Fuck
Yeah.
you.
This isn't quite as bad as them claiming that they own the moon, but it's.
I did like that. That if you're going to go for it, go for it.
So, stone tool discovery challenges entire theory of human evolution. That's a big claim. I'm not so sure it's quite that big a claim, but essentially, did you guys get it? Did anybody read this other than me? Because I did put it in the Discord. No, it didn't have any space stuff in it, so you don't care. Nobody cares. So I'm just pretending to be offended. Essentially, what some researchers did is they looked at the tools that humans have created going all the way back to, before humans, Homo erectus. Mm-hmm. And they looked at those tools from the perspective of efficiency. How good is it as a tool? And the general premise is that more advanced humans will make more advanced tools. And so there's this theory that Homo sapiens essentially had a huge leap forward in terms of their mental development. And this created a huge wave of new tools, and that's how they were able to sort of dominate and replace Neanderthals and some of the other human subspecies.
Yeah, it makes sense.
But based on their analysis of these tools, they're thinking that the evolution of the tools was actually more gradual, and therefore it's probably a mistake to think that there was like this big leap forward. It was really more of a lot of small revolutions than one big one.
No visit from the monolith.
I had thought that was already sort of like the leading hypothesis that they're, generally it's very slow, but then there's periods of like technological revolution. Like, one day somebody develops a longbow, and then, a century later somebody develops a firearm. Like, I mean, but we've also been able to realize, observe in the last, say, 50 years, that the leaps in technology that we've made have sort of increased in frequency.
Oh yeah, things are moving. Ever since we had those
They're
pesky
going
printing
faster.
presses, things have started going really
Yeah,
fast.
The printing press, I would say, is the starting point, and then the Industrial Revolution was like the explosion. Like that was the explosion. The printing press was the match, and somebody lit that match. And yeah, definitely.
Yeah, people like to claim that something's going to be the most important discovery ever, you know, whether it's quantum computing or AI and all this sort of stuff. And really, the invention of written language and the printing press still dwarf those things.
And again, sorry I didn't read the article, but where are these tools? Like, are they looking at tools from across the globe in different regions, or is it in?
Yes. And this is from Nagoya University. So it says the traditional academic stance posited that the MP, Middle Upper Paleolithic cultural transition delineated an important junction between two pivotal evolutionary phases. During the Middle Paleolithic era, spanning from 250,000 to 40,000 years ago, anatomically modern humans coexisted with Neanderthals, sharing some similar stone tool techniques. The period was characterized by the use of Shemp methods, a technique involving the crafting of tools by striking stones with a hammer-like tool, transitioning into the Upper Paleolithic.
Hammerstone. The proper name is called Hammerstone percussion method. That's a new name, a new woke name that has been given.
Nice.
Just say the Hammerstone percussion method, and old anthropologists will know what the fuck you're talking about.
Exactly. So it says the traditional academic stance posited the MPUP transition as a sudden shift driven by revolutionary cultural advancements, including, you know, basically what I just said. However, the Nagoya University team's research paints a different picture. They analyzed the efficiency of stone tools across a 50,000-year timeline that covered 6 cultural phases from the late Middle Paleolithic through the Upper Paleolithic to the Epi-Paleolithic period. Their analysis found that significant leap in tool-making productivity did not occur at the onset of the Homo sapiens dispersal into Eurasia. Okay. So then, as a perfect segue into the next thing, which is the date at which such a thing took place. Human fossil discovery upends history of Paleolithic Europe. They went to an old site, dug down deeper, and found evidence. They found evidence of Homo sapiens remains 47,500 years ago. This is really
H sapiens.
H sapiens. This is early. This is pretty damn early. So that basically puts not necessarily permanent habitation, but some presence of H sapiens, Homo sapiens in Europe 50,000 years ago.
And where do the aliens come into play?
No, that's during Neanderthal time in Europe, isn't it?
Yep. And what's great about this is essentially they had to go through an additional 1.5 meters of rock that an earlier expedition had not gone through. And finding these earlier artifacts, they were relatively well preserved. The animal remains, the human remains. It paints a pretty good picture of what they found. I actually this is an interesting enough article. I'll go ahead and put the link in the chat. So let's see. I'm just seeing what chat has here. Okay, got it. Sweet. All right. So, Paleolithic, surprise discovery. Oh, yeah, there's some idiots trying to bring the woolly mammoth back to life. I think I saw this movie. Yeah,
because Jeff Goldblum when you need him.
Why do we need to do this? I mean,
I remember there was an article from a long time ago that was talking about doing it. It's just to make the meat.
Why?
Because humans are stupid.
I mean, biodiversity and all that stuff's fine, but I don't see why we need to bring back something that isn't adapted to live on the planet as it is now. I don't think we need woolly mammoths. Unless we just want to see if they taste good. Anyway, I saw this movie. This sounds like a terrible idea.
Scientists were too preoccupied with whether they could. They never stopped to consider whether they should.
Yeah, moving on from that.
I mean, it's the dark side of science.
Speaking of woolly mammoths, there's Kamala Harris.
Yeah.
Well, she's not a woolly mammoth. She just never mind.
She just plays one on TV. Unfortunately, I'm missing the link to something. Why is it not here? Hold on. If I can find this in my notes. It's a space thing, which is actually kind of cool. Yeah, we can just defer this one till later. So in terms of sort of eco news and stuff, this was an article that I thought was kind of interesting. Mr. Bean actor who called EVs soulless blamed as one reason for slow electric vehicle adoption in the UK.
He's a car guy. He's going to, of course, think EVs are soulless because they are.
The man drives a Bugatti Veyron. I mean...
Well, he actually works on his own cars, too. Like, he's a big Land Rover person, and he actually, like, works on his Land Rovers.
Yeah, I think blaming Mr. Bean seems like a stretch, don't you?
It's England. They're looking for anybody excuse, especially since they can't... nope, I'm going to stop. I was going to say something real freaking mean. I was going to say something real mean. I'm going to stop.
Not Mr. Bean. Lord Edmund Blackadder, you peasants. Blackadder was the superior show. It just didn't get as much airtime in outside of the UK.
Assassin, Jeff Goldblum hasn't stopped acting.
I think he just exists in that state. I don't think there's any acting at all. I think he just shows up.
Yeah.
Does he even need to act?
I don't think so. He just goes in, does his... Read these lines as Jeff Goldblum. Okay.
His apartments.com ads are hilarious. But anyway. But yeah, no, like, it's... No one wants a freaking EV, not to mention they cost too much for what you're getting out of them.
You get... Okay, the thing about an EV, it may be soulless in that there's no character, but the amount of torque that you get and that instantaneous acceleration is pretty addictive to some people.
And
you can have a lot of fun driving an EV until the battery runs down, and then you're stuck for 2 hours. It's a great hour followed by 2 hours of nothing. All right, let's talk about food a little bit. Sorry, I know I'm going to lose some people here, but it won't be like a sanguine food conversation. This is a little different. So I saw this article. Has the Dutch crunch craze finally expanded outside the Bay Area? To which I say, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
How is Dutch crunch a thing that's exclusive to the Bay Area?
Yeah.
I've been having sandwiches with this particular kind of bread like forever.
Yeah.
Is this really something that the rest of you guys don't know about functional? Have you ever heard of a Dutch crunch roll?
No.
Okay. Because apparently it's something that even in Southern California, they don't really have. It's like literally a Bay Area thing. And I've just taken it for granted that this is just a thing that people eat. And you may say, well, what is a Dutch crunch roll? It's bread kind of like this. It has two different kind of textures. It's soft on the inside, and it's got this crunchy, very Maillard-affected layer on the outside because they literally slather a different thing on it when they bake it. And it gives you this crunchy, crumbly taki.
I know what this is. This is tiger bread.
Is it tiger bread? I've never heard of tiger bread.
No, it's because of the stripes it makes. So they're called tiger bread.
I've never heard anybody call it tiger bread.
It's called tiger bread out through here. That's the reason why it's like, I know what that is. I just didn't know it's called Dutch crunch bread. I've heard it called Marco Polo bread too sometimes.
Okay, this is all crazy talk.
Sorry, it's just out here we call it tiger bread.
Yeah, I mean,
it looks like tiger stripes.
It tastes great.
The internet agrees with her. Tiger bread is a thing, and that is what they call it.
Yeah.
I had never heard of either one of these. Very cool. Thanks, guys.
It makes a fine sandwich. You know, if you're ever in the mood for like, hey, I want something a little different on my turkey sandwich or whatever. Dutch crunch roll, fantastic. I had no idea that it was something that was really just limited to my neighborhood.
Yeah.
It's really good. It's not my favorite bread, but it's really good to have.
Well, it's not it's not the one I even my main go-to. I mean, obviously, if I'm in California, I'm going to go straight up sourdough most of the time because I can.
We have Wonder Bread out here. It's quite good.
Yeah. They have an exciting guy in their NASCAR thing. His name is Ricky Bobby. I can't remember, but Wonder Bread.
Lord have mercy, all of
So yeah, so Dutch crunch is a thing that you guys don't have. Amazing. Okay, I was really surprised by this.
It's one of those. I think it depends on because West Virginia does have not a very large Dutch population, but we got a Dutch population because we're near the Amish. So I think it came from that mixture of stuff.
I don't think this has
What we
anything to
call
do
tiger
with the
bread.
Dutch. I don't know why it's called this. I don't
Well,
understand.
let's see what the internet says.
Yeah, why is it called Dutch Crunch?
It's,
Well,
cr-
I
it's
want to know. I want to know why it's called Marco Polo bread because I've heard it called that too.
but it's crunchy on the outside. It's soft on the inside. It makes a really good sandwich if you've got something that's kind of like, here's a bunch of mayonnaise and meat and some tomatoes. It might be a bit slippery. Just shove it in this little crunchy pillow and it'll be great.
Igloo bread, crunchy on the outside, chewy on the inside. All the
Yeah.
people inside.
Yeah, like one of my favorite Far Side comics.
No, it isn't.
Which I just stole that from, exactly.
Yeah.
It is of Dutch origin.
It is? Mm-hmm. Cool. All I know is that it's
know
one of
how
my
much
favorite things to
I
eat.
know how much you all like Wikipedia, but I'm checking one of the references, and the references backs it up.
Wikipedia is not going to lie about Dutch Crunch bread. That's
hope
very that has a high degree of likelihood of being right. If you read something about Donald Trump, that's a different
great.
thing altogether.
But it's because if you look because you have to look at it under Tiger Bread, and then it delineates down to Dutch Crunch, and then it says under various brand names.
That's what I saw. I saw that. Too.
But they in the UK it's sold in Sainsbury's. It's called giraffe bread.
Okay.
What's it called? What's it called?
Giraffe bread.
Are you kidding?
So
yeah, it says in Sainsbury's.
So it isn't just in the San Francisco Bay Area. It's
just a different name.
It just has different names in other places. I mean,
It's got a lot.
clearly
It's
inferior names, but different. Okay, so
it's sold in Wegmans here in here on my side of the country, on your side of the country, and it's also called Marco Polo bread.
So have you been following the whole a lot of the stuff that's in the news about McDonald's lately?
No.
No,
Okay.
not really.
So McDonald's made a bunch of money quarter before last. They were actually doing really well relative to a lot of the other fast food places. And they've been sort of focusing on quality. And so they re-engineered some of their burgers recently and have been trying to compete more effectively with some of the more upmarket burger places. So they've been trying. Unfortunately, they have made themselves unaffordable to many of the people that would be their audience. So a Big Mac meal can run up to $18 now, just for a Big Mac, some fries, and a drink. I wish I was.
And that's the reason why I get chicken nuggets.
Yeah, here it's like $12 or $13 for a Big Mac meal plus a drink.
Well, here it's about $20.
$20.
Yeah. So
Big Mac meal, yeah.
Those loonies or American?
Yeah. So,
well, 20 loonies, 10 toonies.
It's not worth that much money to me, but whatever. McDonald's has suddenly become expensive. Now, Wendy's has actually passed Burger King as the number 2 recently. And Wendy's has aggressively gone after some of the business that McDonald's has left behind. Like, for instance, McDonald's decided for profitability reasons, to streamline their menu. They had some sort of cinnamon crack bombs that they were selling to people that some folks like, because who doesn't like something that's vaguely like a cinnamon roll in the morning? And they decided, well, we need to streamline our menu, better profits, so we're going to get rid of this product. Wendy's has responded by teaming up with Cinnabon to produce something that's their own better version of it.
It'll be a lot better.
That's going to be a lot better. So it's like, hey, McDonald's isn't selling you the product that you like. Come on down to Wendy's. And
I remember those breakfast things.
And Red here is going to give you some cinnamon rolls, because why not? Because I love cinnamon rolls.
Well, I'll tell you, if Cinnabon's involved, those could be very good.
They could be.
Yeah.
So yeah, McDonald's was trying to do this. So I ran across this ad on my phone, as you can see from the the way I snapped it. And they were just trying to sell me the family meal deal, buy one, get one free. I've never seen an ad like this from McDonald's before. They realized that they done fucked up, and they're trying to not lose all of their customers. They're getting some upmarket customers who are going down market to McDonald's, and that's helping their sales quite a bit, but they're finding that the erosion of more cost conscious consumers is significant. They are just hemorrhaging people on the lower end.
What you got to do with fast food is you got to balance the quality with the affordability, because if the quality is too low, it doesn't matter how cheap it is. Nobody wants to eat crap, like crap.
Yeah.
I remember that there was a time where they differentiated themselves more by what they offered. So Wendy's had the, fresh, never frozen. It's a more fresher tasting burger, and McDonald's was like cheap and quick, but it was still edible. Today, like I get a Big Mac, those patties are disgusting.
I never liked McDonald's hamburgers.
I think
always was a Wendy's kid.
Yeah, I
Wendy's
am
is
definitely
much better
Wendy's.
burger.
That's
Much
where
better
Elwin
burger.
and I will go if we.
I wonder if
we
I can
do fast
DoorDash In-N-Out burger
Yeah, but you
right
pay
now.
that 30%.
Does that
In-N-Out burger is much better burger.
is there a way that somebody will bring me a bag of In-N-Out burgers right now?
Well,
But that's the thing. Don't places like Five Guys and In-N-Out Burger, don't they really prioritize making a good quality product?
I really like Five Guys burgers.
We don't have
Apparently
any of
some
that
people
shit
don't
up
like
here,
them.
so I don't know it's
But it's like I remember seeing people freak out on the internet. Is it In-N-Out Burger that does like the double and stuff like that?
Yep.
You can get it.
Well, the thing is like people were freaking out because like the double like meal is now like $10+.
Mm-hmm.
I tell you, they all got rid of their value menus not too long ago, with the inflation being what it is. And the reason, Skep, that a Big Mac meal here is $20 is, simply put, the inflated minimum wage. We passed $15 with a progressive increase over the next like 7 years.
Right.
Yeah. And again, I hate to sound like the old man in the room, but there was a time where you did that wasn't a career. Working in fast food was a rite of passage, a means to an end, to teach young people, to give them some money in their pocket, but to teach people things like teamwork, responsibility, adherence to standards, regimented scheduling, these kinds of things. And we kind of lost that. I don't want to put the blame on one side completely. It is also part of there is also an element of play of the corporate greed, as we saw with a couple months ago. We had that story of I believe it was McDonald's laying off a bunch of the corporate side of things, which, great, but we didn't know exactly where what it was. We just knew that it was a lot of corporate jobs. So
I think when they lay off top corporate people, they should throw them out of the top floor.
like in History of the World.
History of the World, right? Exactly.
Yeah.
Just like, whoop.
The peasants are
Arm the file
revolting.
cabinets.
All right, so
Fire!
Serenity, you still with us?
Yep.
Okay, so this is a go to Serenity thing, okay, because it involves Japan.
Yeah.
Okay. A junior high principal was fired after he was caught pouring more coffee than he paid for.
What the fuck?
Yeah,
He would
sounds
pay
like
for a
Japan.
75-cent cup, but pour himself a $1.25 cup at a convenience store. He
Yep,
was
sounds
caught
about
in
right.
December by a store clerk who called the police as the principal tried to leave.
Yep, that sounds
Jesus
like Japan.
Everybody's an asshole here.
He was dismissed from his job on Tuesday after he was caught dispensing more coffee than he paid for at a convenience store. The 59-year-old male, who wasn't named, said he'd been pouring himself large coffees during his lunch breaks, even though he'd only paid for the regular size option.
Yep.
He said he realized in June the store staff didn't notice when he dispensed a $1.25 coffee at a self-service machine.
To it, didn't just say it
This
was
is
an
so
accident.
Japanese.
It's
This is so Japanese. Like,
stupid.
Yeah. The principal, yeah.
When I first started, when you first started talking about this, I thought, "Oh, this sounds very Japanese."
Yeah.
Then you started telling more about it. Oh,
Yeah.
this is even more Japanese, and then that just
Okay, it gets more Japanese. The coffee caper has led to the principal's disciplinary dismissal, according to the Board of Education. The principal apologized to students and their families in a statement through the board, saying his role was to lead by example and encourage discipline.
Oh my God! Did he publicly flail himself?
Local prosecutors decided not to press charges on the principal. The region, it's not the first time.
It's discipline.
Japan has caught
discipline.
convenience store customers trying to cheat their way to more coffee.
Oh my God,
Yeah.
Japan.
Yeah. So here we've got people, being charged with
His
just an
wife
infraction
divorced him yet?
if they steal less than $950. But in Japan, some guy rips off a convenience store for a little bit of extra coffee, and he loses his job and has to make a public apology.
I'll tell you something about Japan. Here's what will happen to this guy.
Yeah.
He'll be publicly shamed. He lost his job, blah, 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 blah. Then either the school system that fired him or another school system will come and approach him. And if he's talented, if he's actually known as being competent, he'll have his job back. You go through this little ritual of cooling off period with some of these high professional jobs. But I've actually had a couple of friends go through this in Japan, and acquaintances more really than friends, but work acquaintances, and that's how they've observed it. I wouldn't be surprised. Japanese
He'll
people
probably just
are
move
very practical
prefectures.
folk.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
He'll just move prefectures
Yeah,
because
they call it the geographical cure. Exactly right.
Because he's in Hyogo, which is where Kobe is. Kobe is their capital for the prefecture. So he just has to go to if he just goes to Tokyo, they won't know what the
You
hell.
can vanish. You can vanish in Tokyo.
Well, you can vanish in any of them, but you can vanish in Tokyo real easy. But it's.
I mean, Tokyo is a huge fucking city.
Well, I mean, even if he just goes to Osaka or Kyoto, he'll disappear too. Like, he just has to go to those other prefectures and he'll be fine. If it's really bad, the fact that it's on an American newspaper, it might be enough for him to follow him, for him to have to go to the really northern prefecture. Yeah. But he'll get another job. But
Hope you like snow.
Yeah, well, that's
better hope to
Go
God
to
he does.
Hokkaido.
How far north do you have to go to where you're employable?
Yeah, Hokkaido.
It's your relative value to society measured by latitude.
Pretty much.
All right.
It's one of those things, like, he'll probably have to do it for about 2 to 3 years, then he'll be able to come back.
Yeah.
But that's
he's
usually how it works
59.
in
He's
Japan.
probably going to retire at some point. So will he
Honey,
be
it's
rehabilitated
Japan. They
before he
don't retire
comes
till
back?
they're like 75.
Oh, okay.
He's not retiring anytime soon.
Well, speaking of 75, drugs that treat erectile dysfunction could help reduce risk of Alzheimer's, UK study says.
Another one of my articles.
Yeah.
Thank you, Tumblr.
Yeah, so
Tumblr's where I found all of them.
now there's a fairly obvious conclusion. Well, there's a fairly obvious hypothesis that comes up here.
Yeah.
The thing about boner pills is they take blood away from parts of the body that, are selfishly using it when you're trying to have a massive erection and hoard it. And it just basically forces a redistribution of the blood supply, shall we say, to that special area, the gentleman's area. But by doing so, it actually decreases the blood pressure in the rest of the body and like in the brain. So if you give a bunch of older people medicine that essentially decreases their blood pressure, that in itself, based on some of the theories about Alzheimer's and dementia and things like that, could be sufficient. All you're really doing is just reducing the amount of strain on parts of the brain that might otherwise be tortured by that extra blood pressure.
And you're changing up some things with nitric oxide having to do with how the relative rapidity of oxygen absorption in certain areas.
Yeah.
It changes the O2 transport.
Yeah, and Minions of the Zoo is not giving you any recommendation about this, but you might want to Google something called L-arginine. Enough said. So, yeah, I mean, if you're concerned with having a healthy level of NO in your body. Anyway, so you know what this means? This means that it's the end of the show.
Dun, dun, dun.
Because it's one of those articles.
Dun, dun, dun.
So
Speaking of erectile dysfunction, speaking of going limp, we're ending the show.
electile dysfunction. No, what?
We'll end with a limper rather than a bang.
That was a limp-wristed delivery.
It was.
There we go.
Stop.
Bottom
STAHP. Stop. Well, anything else before we go? Anybody? Anything we should have talked about that we need to talk about quickly before we leave?
If you're going to watch the Superb Owl tomorrow, be good. Don't get too wild and crazy. Drink
And
responsibly.
I'm going to say that
You're going muffled again, Skep.
Kansas City 28 and San Francisco 21.
There you
That'll be
go.
the final score.
That's right. Nice.
Whatever penny you paid for it.
And Rotel tomatoes are a fine part of any Super Bowl buffet dip preparation. Rotel tomatoes, excellent product from Skep State.
Yeah, absolutely.
Love me some
That's
Rotel
from down
tomatoes.
there. Oh, yeah.
One of the few
Yeah.
times Velveeta cheese is not a bad choice. Super Bowl Sunday.
I've inflicted that on people.
I'm telling you, if you've got some ground beef, some Rotel tomatoes, and some Velveeta cheese, you've basically
Good
got a
eating right
party.
there. Yep.
And with that,